Welcome to a long-awaited lecture on the Red Dragon and the Black Pulpit. Well, similar enough.
And the actual title of the paper that I'll be talking about is the Red Dragon Antics of the Grand Grimoire with the Great Clavical of Solomon by Goldtrend of the Dark Lodge of the Desert Yahoo Group. Yes, this is a book that was online, and you see here some of the simplified images and the sigilia and their categories, the magic circle, de-Christianized, and the signature of Lucifuge Rafakale, which is actually flee from the light and wear a cloth about the neck like a sick person. And one of my goals to this list is to show you the sort of practices and beliefs that some have, and show you that they don't require either Christianity or demonolatry to work. And here goes. It may be important that I have waited till after 3:57 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, January 19th. It's full moon. And the end of that Tuesday to pursue what the Haitians call le véritable Dragon Rouge, or
the true Red Dragon.
It is more commonly known as
the Grand Grimoire of Antonio Venetiana del Rabina,
written in 1521, 1522, or even 1421. Many say that it did not exist prior to the early 1800s, but there are reasons to think that it may have popularized the grimoire category of alternative religion. It starts with the practice of summoning demons and the magical temple in a portion entitled the Sanctum Regnum, Le Secret Magique, ou le Grand Art de Pouvoir Parler Oxmorts, the magical secret, or the grand art of communication with the dead, a manual on necromancy that some editions have before being the spells and rituals entitled Secrets de l'Art Magique de Grand Grimoire. I may not be pronouncing that right. I think that's supposed to be French. Secrets of the magical art of the Grand Spiritual Manual. Oh, it may be Haitian too. The first chapter tries to tell us that the Jews both coveted and counterfeited this work that is supposed to be transmitted from Solomon of the Bible, for reasons that I will disclose of later. That can't possibly be the case. The second chapter warns a person how precise a person has to get the practices of
the Grand Grimoire,
lest it hurt them. The initial step is to follow the advice of St. Paul in such as 1 Corinthians 7:1 and Thessalonians 4:4, to stay from your spouses. The second preparation is to eat only at midday, at midnight, following a prayer to Yahweh. God is noun and verb. Adonai, leader of the community. A third preparation is to find an emetele, or bloodstone, to always have with you. I have a bloodstone. I don't use this as part of the demonic pact, though. I'm sure there's other stones that people use for that. But this, you know, pacts with the devil. Something about Hollywood, or what's the name of that show? That guy, Jason. Was it Jason Black? Or he went through the process like unto this. I don't know if he followed the Grand Grimoire or not, because it sounded like he did stuff that was not in the Grand Grimoire and stuff that wasn't in the Red Dragon, stuff that was in some other places too. So maybe it was another book based on these sorts of books. The fourth is to make a baby goat, wear vervain and green ribbon about its head. The vervain is tied into the green ribbon. The carcist, or operator, sacrifices this kid in a secluded spot with a solid steel knife in his left hand. It is skinned, and the rest is reduced to ashes upon white wood, with the prayer and remembrance of Yahweh, Adonai, Elohim, all divinity, and Uriel, light of God, the archangel. So there's always some sort of, even the prayers to God are corrupted by worship to Jesus, or worship to an archangel, or thinking that, well, God in this respect, God in this respect, and God in this respect are different beings. Al-Quran 35:1 speaks of the unfallen angels having more than that, and 2 wings. Now God adds to creation whatever he wants. The Solomonic angelology seems to build itself over the years after the Red Dragon, or Grand Grimoire. Grimorium Verum. The true Grimoire has more details of some of the stuff that I'm going to share here, but this seems to be an older version of the same. The third chapter tells to take a slightly curved branch that is forked at the end from a wild hazel tree at sunrise, with another prayer. But this time, the mention of Jesus and the thunderbolt of Zariatnachmik. The same blade. This time there is the mention of Jesus and the thunderbolt of Zariatnachmik. What is Zariatnachmik? I can't think of this being mentioned in any other source that I see here, but there it is. The same blade is now used to cap the ends of the fork into hazelwood. So, the blade that you perform this animal sacrifice with is melted, and it caps the wood. How exactly you do that? And so the fork. Okay, so it's just the fork and the hazel wand that would be covered with this. The fourth chapter outlines the magical circle that the Karcist or operator works in. I also can't think of this form, Karcist, Karcist. It seems to be unique to the
Red Dragon Grimoire.
outside the circle. To be read facing inwards are A, E, A, and J in the cardinal direction, starting in the east. A, E, A, J, and going clockwise. A ring of 4 circles has a triangle pointing east, stretching across it. The second line is broken in each of the cardinal points by a circle with a dot in the middle, which probably represents the sun. There is reference to Jesus being between the crosses in the western quarter of the inside of the circle. The triangle is into 3 circles and 2 more outside it in the center. So, and the western point and the eastern point of the triangle, there is a vessel for fire. No censer. The 2 circles in the inner circle each hold a candlestick. Oh, I have only have 2 there. I could use the third thing to do the same sort of operation. Well, the same sort of symbolic structure. I wouldn't worship Jesus or any of that. The reference to Jesus proves that this magic is not actually Solomonic. You know, Solomon was 1,000 years before Jesus supposedly was. Water, camphor, incense, and a prayer that probably represents a triune, all-male divinity. And the Archangel of the North are used there. 2 more Christian prayers to follow. Before invoking Lucifer are I bring the light, thrice, and 2 invocations of the spirit of the Christian Kabbalah. It's actually some spirit of the Christian Kabbalah, they believe. Kabbalah means direction, orientation, that sort of thing. If one hasn't had manifestation after the second invocation, the 4th wand is heated in the fire. Finally, Lucifuge, Rafakale are flee from the light and wear a cloth about the neck like a sick person. Oh, if I had a cloth to put about my neck. Oh, I'm going to skip doing that. If Lucifuge Rafakale shows up and the Karcist works out a deal with it. Oh, finally, Lucifuge Rafakale shows up and the Karcist works out a deal with it. This is done by questioning as to times and expressing the specifics that are usually written out and signed in your own blood. The joke seems to be that after working out which times, on which day, and all that, Lucifuge Rafakale are the linguistic opposite of Lucifer, and the temporarily or spiritually enlightened will sit, Lucifer is temporarily or spiritually enlightened, will typically say it can't do that. Why make an oath with a being that can't, that even alternative literature seems to say won't be lived up to by the demon? The absence of working on Saturday instead of the biblical Sabbath of sundown Friday till sunset Saturday again proves it's not Solomonic. The spirit that decides to respond to worship of Lucifer are in reality Venus. I don't know where Venus is in the sky, or I'd point the direction. Demands to be conjured during the 2 hours of the first 6 days of the Christian week. If it manifests in a way to be to the senses, it may tell 7 aspects of its promise. The spirit doesn't always give up when faced with Christian prayer, but is supposed to be scared of the blasting rod, the visions of the spirits to show treasure and such can be horrible, but the Karcist must hold their symbolic framework. This Karcist here renders thanks to Lucifer or whatever actual spirit than the Christian idea of divinity and the angels. I'll skip all that angel worship and the idea of the Christianization of divinity. Skip all that because I don't do that. The sacred kingdom of the shoulder blade lists of a hierarchy that must have more issues, because in classical Latin, the Bible, and before Dante and Milton, Lucifer was not only used as a demonic term, but even used for Jesus and church leaders. Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Astaroth are as the unholy trinity. Lucifuge, Satanachia, or Satanaka, Agalia Rept, Gloreti, Sargatanas, and Neberos have their own graven signs, much like the 3 over them. But there are 2 sets of these symbols for each of the 9. Part of each in scribbles, but there seems to be what resembles a head among each set. That alone should hint why necromancy was often included in versions of the book. Now, I don't have words, so I missed some issues here, and no one helped me out in editing this, so excuse me if in some of my papers I go back and try to correct the way I said something. You know, the heads, that alone should hint why necromancy was often included in versions of the book. Among them are also sharp tools, bugs, and a plant. How do these symbols work? How do these symbols evoke the experiences and other results? In order, their ranks, well, there may be some plant or something that is part of the process that was lost in the transmission, or some other thing like that. If you know the Grimoires, there's certain bones and animal parts and all that. In order, their ranks and the spirits under them is as follows. Baal, Agaris, and Marbas are under that prime minister. Under the Grand General are Pruslas, Amon, and Barbatos. Under the General are Buer, Gascoigne, and Bautis. Gusian in the Goetia is probably derived from that. Under the Lieutenant General is Bathan, Person, and Eligor. So Eligos in the Goetia is Eligor, Person. Under the Brigadier is Lorey, Valifor, and Foral. Could Foral be Foros? Could Lorey be Lorake? Perhaps. Finally, under the camp marshal is Aperos, Navarrete, Naviras, and Glaciolabalos, number 25 in the Goetia. Aperos could be Epos, number 22. Under the principle, superior and inferior are said to be all lesser spirits, and pacts with them cover the millions or so other demons. Al-Quran 34, 20, 21 mentions how Iblis or the devil had no authority or control over those who choose to work for the afterlife. It is safe to presume that means the righteous spirits would not be included in the demoniacal hierarchy. I think that the 19 coins or items dumped out of the treasure bag are really a reminder of the 19 angelic guards of the hell realms hereafter for those who hold to their demonic alliances. Why not strip the Christian character from these rites? Al-Quran 34, 12 through 14 speaks of Solomon's mystical kingdom and its temple. I look to the traditions of what might have been its symbols to uncover technology and cosmology that can be used for other purposes than playing with the jinn in ways he would have forbade. How would being a Christian, the prayer of protection, or any of these 5 untranslated Latin prayers help your alliances with the demons? There is a ritual that involves taking the bones of the dead to make a cross that is thrown at the nearest temple or church. Taking 5,900 steps and laying with your hands on your lap to talk to the dead. The philosopher's stone is made with red copper and nitric acid boiling. Copper carbonate is added to the boiling mix. A third boiling period is with arsenic added. Oak bark, rose water, and lamp black are added for it to boil down to half as much or till a nail sticks to it. There is no reason to think that such can produce 1.5 pounds of good gold, but it may have some purpose. I am missing. I don't know, it may actually take on a goldish sort of color, but it sounds very toxic. I guess maybe being poisoned, you can think you're being, I have gold, I need to be taken to the hospital. But it was worth it, I have 1.5 pounds of gold. A divining rod is much like the earlier magical rod, but without the specific knife or capping the forked ends. Enchanting weapons, doing better at gambling, speaking with spirits on the night or two after the summer solstice of the northern hemisphere, enchanting weapons, encouraging women to be strippers. Yes, there's actually rituals for that. Invincibility, gaining the favor of others' judgments. Yes, instead of practicing your arguments in court, perform some black magic ritual. Yes. And running faster, are all claims of the effects of certain spells or attempts at worldly gain here. Al-Quran 33:41-43 mentions frequent remembrance of God, a salat or ritual prayers in particular time periods, and the contact that God and the light beings make with those people. Why is that not enough? Well, maybe it is, and they just don't want that. That's fine, that's their choice. The pacts are to be written in ink of gallnuts, Roman vitriol, or green